Well then, hello everybody, Mark here, and today, as advertised, it's not going to be a cookery video. It's going to be answering your questions on the basically questions and answers that I asked you last week. If you wanted to put a question in, you could do so, and today's the day I'm going to read through them and answer them. You know, there's some quite good questions actually being sent through. I'll go through them and of course shout out whoever's asked a question. But there's some quite good ones, so for anybody who's interested, stick around and you might find something interesting that you know, regarding me, my life, the channel, things I've done, you know. Anyway, okay. So George C goes on. Congrats on your 300 subs. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was about a week actually when I advertised the Q&A video. It was about 300. It's about 333, I think. So it's all great news. It's climbing. So anyway, thank you. Turns out I have a couple of you don't mind. Could you give a preview into your 300 sub video details? Well, this is kind of it. It wasn't really planned as such as a three. It was it just happened to coincide 300 videos along with this Q&A. You know, somebody suggested to me that I do a Q&A, and it just coincidentally coincided. And question 2 from George C. Do you prefer holidays in the UK or abroad? I trust someone will ask about the bull run, but I'm interested to hear how that went too. Okay, well, do I prefer holidays in England? I don't call it the UK, England. I don't. I've travelled to Scotland. I've travelled to Wales. I haven't been to Ireland. Anyway, so yeah. But yeah, given the choice, I would stay in England. But out of those choices, I have been abroad actually. I've been to America. I've been to Austria. I've been to Spain. Given the choice, that's kind of an interesting one. I like getting away from the city, Milton Keynes city. I like going. I've been to Wales a few times because we've had relatives that live there, and you go there and it's like going back to at least the area that we stayed in, a place called Blaena Festiniog. It's like going back to the Stone Age, you know. I mean, not quite as bad as that, but it's nothing like the big city. If you want to get away from the city, then you know, go to Wales. It's really you know, the reverse. Where was I going with that? I like holidays in England because I'm familiar with the language, I'm familiar with the customs, I'm familiar with the food, I'm familiar with the weather, I'm familiar with the TV programs, okay? On the other hand, I do like going abroad because we can do things that we can't, you can do things there that you can't do over here. I mean, I've been to America. I mean, the options are countless what they can do, which we can't. Everything from pastimes to jobs to the food, you know, it's crazy. Austria, I went skiing, which, you know, yeah, we can do that here in Scotland, and even in Milton Keynes we've got a indoor skiing place. But especially in particular, which leads on to the last question here, was the bull run. I've been to Spain 3 times, and I've run with the bulls 5 times. And I've got some of it. I've actually got a load of video. I actually got some of footage of me on there as well, from a distance. But you can tell it's me if I point it out. Be interested, yeah, and. George Caesar's be interested to hear about the way that went. Well, let me tell you, out of the 5 times that I've done it, and I was lucky to survive the last time, really, because what happens is, I mean, the run is like 200 meters. Only it's not a straight line. It's like up a hill, left, down a slope, turn right, up the road, round the corner. It's really is a left and right, and up hills, down hills. Basically, it's through the town centre. You know, I mean, they cordoned off the paths leading to the city. People don't go get thrown in shop windows and stuff. Like a bit like on City Slickers, where the guy got shoved into a shop window. that won't happen because of the barriers that they put. But yeah, what they do, they have these cameramen on scaffolds, which the equivalent to the local news crew or the local TVAM. They have they're dotted all over the place. So they film it, and then they film it. They put it on telly, and we have it. Tourists can buy it on DVD, and that's what we did. And we watched the footage of the last time, as we did with all of them. But we watched in the hotel. We watched the footage of the last one. And that was the one I really, oh man, I was inches, because the thing is, but bull, see, unlike people, when you're running, because you're running uphill left, and then left and right, round corners, bulls can't do a tight corner like a person can. You can run pretty much fast as you can and basically do a right angle turn into a corner, whereas a bull, the bull will just keep on going because they can't turn. So, you know, I nearly got hit with the last one. That was close, let me tell you. But the very first one was the most scary because because it's fear of the unknown, you know, and it's I mean, you can watch all the bull run footage you like on the video on DVDs. But and it looks pretty exciting, right, and scary. But when you're there, my God, you imagine. I'm going to try. I don't want to. You know, I'll try and get on to the next question shortly. But if you imagine you're in a crowded street, I mean, there's like 2,000 people, 2,000 plus, 2,500 people take part. Well, it's San Sebastian we went to, which is sort of like less busy than Pamplona and the rest of them, but. You got 2,000 to 2,500 people in the street. They're packed in, and they're all waiting for that firework to go off at 8 o'clock, right? Because when that happens, you know that 200 meters down the road, that's the signal to let the bulls go. So you're this height. You're in a crowd of thousands of people, and everybody's the same height, right? So the only way to look, but you've got to stand on your toes and look above. And when you're looking 100 meters down the road, and you start seeing all the crowd's heads bubbling, jumping up and down like this, jumping, say bubbling, jumping up. What that is, that's the actual crowd moving. They're looking at them, oh shit, the bulls are coming. So they're starting to run, and of course when you're running, the heads are moving, and all you see is the bobbing of the heads up and down, as if they're jumping. But they're actually running. They're running closer to you, and then the crowd, and then that forces the people near them to run, forces the nearer people to run, and eventually they get to you, and you need to run, or you get trampled to death, you know? And then literally seconds later, all the bulls come. There's 12 bulls. And I mean, Christ Almighty! I mean, they're like I'm 5'10", and they're roughly chest height, maybe a bit higher. Yeah, but if you put your arm out, that's about where their back is. I mean, they're big. And anyway, there's 12 of them. Yeah, I mean, they're not, except for the odd one or two that will actually seek out a runner and target a runner and try and mash him, try and kill him. You can see this on film. They will target a person. This is crazy. But otherwise, you pretty much got to sort of run with them or stay the hell out of the way. But you run, and basically you run with them, and if you fall, you're going to get, you pretty much get trampled by the other 1,000 blokes behind you, or you get trampled by the bulls, or both, or, oh man, it's hell. People do get mashed, and so, anyway. I was going to say that there's some guy getting dragged down the street, but yeah, it is the craziest, maddest thing that you're likely to. But the number 2, 3, 4, 5, they're still scary as hell, but at least you know what's coming, which is kind of a bit strange to. the stampede is like, I've likened it to people that if you're in a crowded movie theatre and there's a fire, you imagine hundreds of people trying to make it out that door. That's what it's like to be in a crowd at the Bull Run. And it is hell on wheels, let me tell you, it is scary as hell. The first time. The second time it is all scary, but at least you know how to act, you know the things to do. Anyway, I've got several years worth of footage, because they sell them on DVD. And, you know, it is madness. It goes on for like 7 days straight. See, because what they do is, man, this is going on for way longer than I thought, but I'll wrap this up quick. Each town, rather than do it all, the whole country doesn't do it all at once, because there's dozens of these bull runs. Each town has their own. They don't do it all at once because they want because that's no good, because all the tourist money, right? So what they do is they stagger them. In San Sebastian, where we went, I think it's like the last week in August, and then another town will do another week, another town will do another week, so because there are people who hop from town to town to do them all. Anyway, that's that's like 10 minutes, 11 minutes talking about the bull run. Man, I swear I could talk about it all day, but it is, oh man, yeah. But if you're young, I mean, I wanted to do it while I was young enough to do it, and I was, I'm now 47. I was about, I don't know, about 35 years older or something like that, maybe a bit older. But yeah, I mean, you really ought to try it. If only to say, I mean, all these things I've done. I've done the bull run. I've jumped out of a plane. I've done skiing. I've learned to snowboard. You know, I've done but you really should do these things when you're young. You know, when you've got the energy and the wherewithal. Okay, so thank you, George C. for I'm sorry about there's a long-winded answer to your question, but thank you very much. Okay, Stones 918. Stones 918. What type of work do you do? Not asking specifically where you work, just a general. That's what they're asking for. Well, I work in a big factory. I work in the returns department. Okay, so basically, customers will buy stuff. They find out it's not what they want. Or it's the wrong color, or there's something wrong with it. They send it back for whatever reason. And what we do is we receive those, we put them back into stock on the count on the computer, and then we relocate them around the warehouse back into the stock. So the people on trucks can come along and pick the orders that you order. Like if you order something online or in the shop, these guys come along and pick it, and we put it back in. Also, if it's been picked wrong, it ends up in the packing department, and if it turns out to be wrong, they'll send it back to us. We put it back into stock on the computer, and we basically put it back into stock. You know, everything from everything from small toys to kettles to microwaves. What else? Yeah, toys, lampshades, everything. You know, a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, so thank you, Stones 918. Ian Mills. Ah, Ian Mills, I recognise that name. He's actually he's contributed on the Patreon channel for me, for the channel. So thank you to Ian Mills. He's yeah, he was actually the first one to sign up make a contribution on Patreon. Ian Mills asks, what's my favourite book / film? Well, the favourite book, I don't really have a favourite book. I've read some crackers, let me tell you. I used to own a business years ago, so I had a lot of time sitting around waiting for people to show up. And I used to do a lot of reading, which is where one of my first money-saving idea was, because what I used to do, I used to go next door to the co-op, buy a book for £2, read it. You know, you get 100 pages in. I'll give a book 100 pages, and then figure out whether it's any good to carry on. But by then I've spent the £2. So what I figured was I dedicated a corner of the shop so that customers could come in, donate some of their books that they like to read, and other people would come in, donate a book, take a book, they would bring one or two in, they would take a book to read, So it's a great way of me getting free books, right? Because it saved me £2 a shot. Oh man, it was great. Anyway, but I used to read a lot of books, but I couldn't tell you. I mean, I could probably recognise the cover. I could definitely recognise the story, but I couldn't tell you who wrote it. I couldn't tell you the title of it. I just looked for an interesting book, read it, and sometimes they were real crackers, let me tell you. What type of book? I like to read fiction. Well, I like fiction because fiction's more interesting than fact most of the time. But then, on the other hand, if I'm looking for to research one of my hobbies, like say, well, it looks like say the chickens, for example, or when I did archery, when I took up archery, I bought an archery bow and all the equipment. When I joined a club for metal detecting, I've still got my metal detector. When I joined that, I don't know, a couple of other things. I read everything I can find on the site. Bodybuilding, there's another one. Nutrition, weight training tips, how people train. I used to read everything, you know, and that would be on the facts side. So I'd read a lot of facts if I was going in for one of my hobbies, or I read fiction if I just want to read a bloody good story. Okay, so film. My favourite film of all time, I think, would be The Breakfast Club. You know, I do that for two different reasons: Breakfast Club and Tremors. Well, both for the same, both two completely different stories. But I like stories. I like buddy movies, right? I like stories with, if you've got between two, or sometimes one, you know, but no, you know, up to about 6 characters. You know, you can really get invested in the characters and the story. Tremors has got two characters, Kevin Bacon and that guy Ward. He was in Remo, Unarmed and Dangerous. Fred Ward. In The Breakfast Club, there's like 6 people in the whole thing. Basically, the whole film is set in an 8-hour period during school detention. All the kids have been bad for different reasons during the week, and they're on detention for Saturday. All got to show up and just basically spend the day in school. And these are people who never met before. They've seen each other in the hallway, but they're all different groups. You know, one of them's the athletic type, one of them's the boffin type, one of them's the what do you call them? The goth type. The other one's the hooligan criminal type. And yeah, I mean, they're all forced to stay in the same room, and they all become kind of pal, you know. Anyway, but yeah, the Breakfast Club. And also, I was in America. I was 16 at the time, I think, when that came out, and I was in America at the time. And the soundtrack by Simple Minds was playing everywhere. And it was one of those movies which you don't have now, where everybody's talking about it. You know, you go to this, because we had to go to it was a school exchange. We had to go to their school, and everybody was talking about the film The Breakfast Club. You know, because it was set in a school, not in Massachusetts where we were, but you don't have that now. You go to work. It's yeah, mind you, sometimes it's hard to get an articulate conversation at a lot of places I've worked at, but a lot of places you can't go. You go in, you try to talk to somebody about the news or anything on the telly or movies, you get nothing, right? But back then, everybody, it was the topic of conversation, and anyway, so yeah, it was. So for that reason, you know, it's kind of stuck in my mind, and it's a very good story. It's and actually it kind of rings, you know, the tone of the story is okay. But basically, it'll lead into something else that. You got all these kids who don't know each other. They've seen each other around. They're all from different groups, but they all congregate together. And at the end of the movie, they become sort of pals, you know. and the lyrics of the song, "Don't you forget about me," you know. Will you? It goes on to, "Will you call my name?" For the, you know, in the lyrics, and it reminds me of incidents where I've been working for companies where you've got people from several different departments who see each other. You're like, you don't really talk, but you can't talk to everybody. 200 people in a building, right? You can't talk to everybody. But when you come together in a tight sort of day out, for example, everybody's pals, they're your new best friend, and it's like, oh, I never, you find out these people are actually great people. You get back to work, and it's back to normal. You're not talking. You say hello, you get nothing, and that's what it's like in the. That's kind of the theme of the film. Okay. Anyway, so I'm waffling on again. Thank you, Ian Mills, for your question. Uncle Ruckus. Now this is a strange one. 1-1 cocoa full basket. Now I don't know what that is. I don't know whether it's code or he's high on something. I don't know. Anyway. One king. That's spelled K-I-I-N-G. One king. Do I support a football team or rugby team? Well, neither. I've never been into football. I've watched possibly 3 football matches in my life. And that's mainly World Cups, just because... I don't even know why I watch those. I'm not really interested in football. I've got absolutely zero interest in football or anything football related. I'll watch the World Cup just to hang out with some workmates and have a few sandwiches and drinks and stuff. Actually, I was thinking about this question the other day when the question came up. I'm thinking, how many footballers can I mention? Can I identify? And this will probably be funny for anybody who's into football, but you got David Seaman, I know he's a goalie. You got David Beckham, of course. I'd reckon Neville. He did a Pizza Hut advert. You got, and then you go back as far as Kevin Keegan. Now, I remember him when I was a kid. He had this big afro, right? He was a white guy with a big afros were big in those days. These are back in the 80s. Everybody had a perm. Anyway, so that was Kevin Keegan. You got Hotshot Hamish from I think it was the Dandy, perhaps. Man, he was a good one. He was Hotshot Hamish. Roy of the Rogers. Anyway, but yeah, maybe I don't know. I don't even know how many